Divas, and welcome to another Viva October. This is episode 4 of season 2. I am so excited for our show today. I cannot tell you. This wonderful individual has been an inspiration to me for as long as I can remember. They are somebody who I met, I believe, back in 2009 for the first time. I think we confirmed that earlier. But before we get to our very special guest today, I have another person who I've met a couple times, and this bartender is such a wonderful person. I want to explain to you what our virtual bartender is about once again. We are on episode 4 of season 2. Season 1, we did What's in Your Glass, and all of you would send in your photos, and those were featured on our website. And that's wonderful. I love to see your beautiful faces. I love all of that. What I do know now is that we are in this pandemic. We are 7 to 8 months in this pandemic, and it is taking a financial toll on our nightlife. It's taking a financial toll on the hospitality industry, people that work in hotels, people that work in bars, people that work in restaurants. And the people that are closest to me are usually my bartenders. My bartenders and my servers are the people who take care of you when you're at my shows. They are the people who I always say keep you lubricated, keep me lubricated, and make sure that we are a well-oiled machine. And so I want to give back to my bartenders the best that I can. And so I put a national call out, and I am putting a national call out yet again. So if any of you are interested in being a featured bartender on Viva Aaliyah, you're going to send a video of you making a cocktail and narrating that cocktail, and your Venmo/Cash App, and where you usually work, where you're from. So if you're from California or Idaho or New York City or Michigan, we're going to talk a little bit about Michigan today, then go ahead and send that to production@AaliyahMartinezQueen.com. If we need anything else from you, we will definitely let you know. Make sure you are filming in horizontal mode. We do love a good landscape on Viva Aaliyah. So we do want to support our bartenders. And all of you watching out there, if you have $1, if you have $2, please feel free to give to any of the projected Venmos or Cash Apps tonight. So without further ado, this bartender is quite a looker. He is right here from New York City. I believe I met him at the Mermaid Inn in New York City. And I want to pass it over to our featured bartender of the week. Give it over to Ken Zeigler.
Hey guys, this is Ken. I'm here to teach you how to make a pumpkin spice cocktail because, well, I mean, fuck it. 'Tis the season, right? You walk out the street, they have them at Starbucks, they have them at Farbucks, they have them at wherever you go. You're going to see a pumpkin spice something or other. So let's make a pumpkin spice cocktail. Also, you're going to be making a pumpkin pie. Might as well save a little bit of filling for yourself. Add some whiskey. We'll have a killer cocktail. All right? At home, you may not have a cocktail shaker. That's okay. I don't use them most of the time anyway. I use a Tostitos jar because I'm classy like that. All right. First thing you're going to do is you're going to use 2 ounces of Buffalo Trace or any bourbon, any whiskey, honestly. 2 ounces. If you don't have a jigger, it's a 1/4 cup. I'm going to use the jigger, but you can use a 1/4 cup. Or you could use 4 tablespoons. Not going to use my tablespoon either. I use my jigger. But 2 ounces of Buffalo Trace. I feel like Bob Ross, you know, just watching the little paint drop go down. Doody. That's kind of what I do every time I make drinks. I make noises. Then we're going to take our pumpkin pie filling. Well, this is 100% pure pumpkin because, well, we have a baby and breeders, you know, it's what we do. 2 heaping tablespoons. Ish. Why not, right? Then we do 1 ounce of heavy cream. 1 ounce of simple syrup. And then the next step, it's a little delicate here. You got to crack an egg. You always want to do this over a bowl because you don't want to get the egg white in your cocktail. You're not making a frothy cocktail this time. You're just using the yolk to give it that extra bit of texture, that nice consistency, that great flavor that comes with the egg yolk. Got to jiggle it and wiggle it, you know. Pretend it's not anything gross. Toss it back and forth a couple times. There you go. Drop the shell in with the whites. Get rid of that. Keep a rag handy because, well, because. Add yourself some ice. Throw a lid on. Let's get classy, y'all. You're going to shake it, what, 10, 15 seconds? So the glass gets nice and cold, or if you have a shaker, that gets nice and cold. Once you feel it starting to chill your fingertips, give it a stop. Now, if you do happen to have a coupe at home, by all means, take yourself a spoon, pull back that ice, just pour that beautiful liquid right into your cup. Don't worry if you've got any extra left over. More the merrier. If you happen to have a microplane and some cinnamon stick at home, great. Shave some cinnamon, grab your nutmeg, shave some nutmeg on top, and you're good to go. If you don't have a microplane and the actual spices there, if you just have the McCormick things, take a small pinch into it. Don't try shaking it. You'll just get a whole bunch on top. Otherwise, there's your pumpkin spice cocktail. Enjoy. Holy shit, that's good. Have a good one, guys. Thanks.
Yes, Ken, thank you so much. Cheers to you. We do love a good, as we say in our day and time, basic bitch cocktail of pumpkin spice. And cheers to you. Hi. Thank you for being a part of our show today. If you enjoyed the cocktail, you can always go back and rewatch how to make that. The recipe, of course, he provided sound effects, all of the extras along the side provided by our very own bartender. So quite the editor as well. Cheers to you once again. All right, let's get into this interview. I cannot wait any longer. She is a very, very, very inspirational queen to me. He is a very inspirational man to me. I have met both the male and queen form of this individual and can tell you that the warmness and welcomeness is always felt around them. They are Miss Gay America 1982. So we will be celebrating not this coming Miss Gay America 2021, but 2022. We'll be celebrating their 40th anniversary as Miss Gay America, and I will be there to celebrate, I promise. I want you to all give a very Viva welcome to Jennifer Foxx. Yes. Hi, how are you?
Good evening. How are you, lady?
I am so wonderful. Thank you for being on the show. I am very excited to talk to you tonight.
I'm excited to talk to you. And also want to start the evening by saying thank you, our great producer, Dominic Moto, and of course, the very handsome Kenneth Zeigler for providing that lovely libation. As you said, it will lubricate all of us.
It sure will. And he's also very nice to look at, both of those gentlemen. Speaking of lubricating, Miss Fox, what is in your glass today? What are we drinking?
Russian vodka, which is the drink of kings, but tonight it is the drink of queens. Skull.
I will cheers to that. I love some vodka. Let's jump in. I am so anxious to get started. So obviously you have been around for a couple of years. You have traveled the U.S. You have been around for quite some time and have inspired so many of us. What was the inspiration for you to start in this format of female impersonation, this art form?
Before I start, please don't think I'm sidelining you. I'd like to say Happy Sweetest Day. I'd also to you and to Dominic and to Kenneth. I'd also like to say Happy Sweetest Day to my lovely mother Darlene and my sister Cynthia, and to my best friend David During, to whom if I didn't have them, I couldn't be here this evening. So it's a Sweetest Day celebration.
It really secondly, is. Happy Sweetest Day back to you.
Thank you, man. Secondly, I'd like to say the comments I'm going to make in the next hour, it's a disclaimer. They are personally my own. They reflect nothing on Mad Angel Entertainment, who are the current owners of Miss Gay America, nor do they reflect any of their procedures, nor their beliefs. All of my beliefs are here. And also, I am not a spokesperson for Miss Gay America pageantry system. However, I do have a lot of opinions and I can use them. So I just wanted to do that disclaimer because I am only liable to myself. And thank you for letting me do that.
I love that. I'm only liable to myself as well. So I echo everything Miss Jennifer Foxx has said.
Cool. In response to your question, the impetus of this for me, everybody comes to this art form through a different venue. No two people's stories are quite the same. I was a very young boy, not even legal. Perhaps 16, I started going to clubs. It was the 70s. They allowed me in. They didn't card us. I first saw female impersonators. And I don't want to belabor you with a long story, but eventually through being in connection with the gay bar system and what came to be known to me as gay entertainment, I entered the field at about 1975. Everybody has a different motivation to find this art form. I was always enamored with glamour. We came from a lower middle class family in a suburb of Detroit, but we had a television, a black and white television. And I used to watch Ed Sullivan with my grandparents and my parents when I was a little boy, very little boy, perhaps 7. And I saw Mr. Jim Bailey on the Ed Sullivan Show on a Sunday evening. And I tried to comprehend what I was seeing in my 7-year-old mind. And my grandma said to my grandfather, "That's a guy that's doing Judy Garland. That's not Judy Garland." To my grandfather said, "That's Judy Garland." And my grandmother said, "No, that's a guy." And I was sitting between them and I thought, what am I hearing? My 7-year-old computer brain froze. I couldn't process it, even at 7. And I was so intrigued at what I was seeing. And that definitely imprinted future activities for me. By the time I got to my early 20s and found the gay bar system and connected the two, I said, I think I see this in my future. And I did.
That's such a wonderful story. It brings me such joy to hear. I want to ask you a little bit about, we talked about this before the show, but I am a Michigan gal as well, and you are born, bred, raised here, still in suburbs of Detroit. What was the scene like? You mentioned briefly that you went out to the gay bars in Detroit. What was the scene like back then, and what are there still bars around that we can find history in queer Michigan?
Well, for the decades that have passed, there's a stark contrast in what was then and is now. When I started in 1975, there were 33 bars, 33 clubs that actually presented some kind of gay entertainment that I could perform in, that would book me easily. We were all kids. Nobody had credentials. We were only judged on the basis of what we presented for $25 or for free on their particular stage in their bar. If they decided to book us. And booking is even a more stringent term. They just said, you can come. I don't know if that's considered a booking, but they said, yeah, bring some lipstick and a wig, and you can come if you want to. Which with 33 venues, it gave you a large playing field in a time where there was actually no structure for drag. And you created your own brand. We didn't know we were branding at the time, but we were creating our own brand. And as I began to travel around the Detroit area and get these bookings, I thought bigger is better. Quality is good. If you can produce this, they'll book you again, or they'll ask you to come again. And the climb started. And I began to understand that if I was focused enough, and if I had some good breaks from God, and if I had some really nice people, which I ended up helping me along the way, I might be able to find my way and make this a vocation. And basically that's what happened. It became my vocation in Michigan, in Detroit, Michigan. It was, it became a thing. It became a thing for me, and my brand began to grow. And before the age of technology, I mean, I was the guy that would save my pennies and print out 500 flyers and put them on car windows in bars saying, look for me. I'm going to be at such and such at whatever. And I was the guy that would go to other people's shows and sit in the audience and hand them my flyers at other people's shows. Come see me. And they were going, why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm branding, but I didn't know I was branding. I was advertising. And slowly but surely, I began to acquire a fan base, an actual following. And that led to the next level, the next level, the next level. Hi, Mr. Jay McLean, my good friend, my baby. It's good to see you, sir.
What a handsome photo, Jay McLean. Oh, Skip McCall, there has never been a professional or sincere entertainer I have ever met. Obviously, never more than you.
Wow. And this early in the interview, and I'm going to start crying. I'm a crier. And Skip can make me cry.
Same. Skip is such a wonderful person.
Skip has always been, aside from pageantry, of course, that was our connection, but just has always heralded me as a true talent. And I could never thank him enough for that. He's always been so very kind to me. He's a good egg. Skip, you're a good egg.
You know, I have never actually met Skip one-on-one or in person, but we have communicated quite a few times over Facebook and commented on things, and Skip has been more than willing to share things that I've posted or advertisements that I have, and I can just the persona that Skip gives off is just such a wonderful, warm welcome persona, and I I cannot wait to meet Skip one-on-one. And I'm sure you have stories about wonderful times with Skip because you seem to know each other wonderfully.
Well, you're going to love this. I've never met him. I've never met him. I don't want to. I don't want to present something that's an untruth here. I just know him through the continental system and the age of technology. And we connected along the way. And along the way, he said, "I want to tell you, I'm a fan from a distance. I appreciate your aesthetic and the art form." And I wrote him back early on and said, "You know, you're focused due to your skating history. You're very you know what the spirit of true competition is, and you're a fair
Yes.
gentleman. I'm glad that you're involved in our pageantry system at large." And he was like, "I like you." And I'm like, "I like you too. But I'm going to meet you, Skip. I'm going to."
Yes.
I wrote him one time and said, because, you know, he has an in with the continental system. And I said, and it was a long lament. And I said, "I've done everything in this business, ... Skip, the only thing I haven't done is I haven't had the opportunity to judge Miss Continental. So if you could help me, if you could help me with that." And he was just like, "We'll see." So I'm still available, Mr. Skip, if ever there's an opening. I love Continental. I just love. I went for 20 years every year, got my tickets early, sat real close to the stage. I got my scorecard. I know all the kids, and I love Continental. I love
do
Continental.
too. Are you when we come back, will you be attending again?
I'll be there in 2022, the year I give up Miss
Yes.
America. It's going to be a
Great.
big year for me. I got a lot of things planned in 2022.
I have, well, 3 questions based off of what we just talked about. One, you mentioned 33 bars that were willing to book in the early days of female impersonation. What was that just in Michigan? Obviously, we don't have that many in Michigan, but did that just count as the Midwest? Was that across the nation? 33 bars doesn't seem like a lot to us today, but that is quite a bit for the late 70s.
See, you're just a young kid. At one time, just in Detroit and the suburbs, we had 33 bars. 33 bars. And of course, since I started that way, I thought it would always be this way. Now we have 3 bars.
Yeah.
3 that have gay entertainment in that fashion in the Detroit area. And because of the economy and the sad state of affairs we find ourselves in, there's no money. So I rarely get to work in Detroit. And of course, we can't talk about this. We can't address this part of the conversation without saying, as of March 13th of 2020, myself and 12 million, let me repeat that, myself and 12 million performers, tech crew, and stage crew have been out of work. We haven't made a dollar. It went from a booming industry to nothing.
It did.
So if you hadn't had some form of a pillow, some kind of protection, you were one of the ones that were left floundering. This has been a very difficult time for all of us. It was difficult before because the gay bar industry was beginning to fold. We were losing our gay bars, and we continue to lose our gay bars as safe havens for our gay children and for us as gay adults. And then to be hit with this, it's been quite devastating for so many of us that make our living on the stage. We can only hope for the best. We're doing our best with what we have now. But even when this veil lifts somewhat for us, still, if I continue to stay in Detroit, which of course I'm going to, we only have 3 venues to work in. That's very disconcerting. It's because in stark contrast um, it was a very good living. It was a very good living outside the casino system. My casino life is very different from my gay bar system life. But there was and many of you that are watching this, that we all know each other, all my kids, all my girls, all the beautiful queens that made a living for many years um, with a high ticket price and were booked easily around the country are now finding themselves at a loss. And it's a very difficult time for us. And I know you understand this, but
Yeah.
thank you for allowing me to say it.
Yes, of course. I even from when I started, and I started in the early 2000s, we had, I mean, there was Menjo's, there was the Roundup, there was Backstreet. There's so many bars that we could go to. I could probably count at least 13 in the Detroit area. And now, like you said, there's 3. It's crazy to me. It is awe-inspiring to me that you had 33, and I hope that there's a world we can go back to where there are 33 again in the Detroit area, because it is such a wonderful area to work in.
Well, it's unfortunate because on May 13th, we shut down here in Detroit. And on May 23rd, I was opening a brand new show at the Menjo's Entertainment Complex on Saturday evenings. And we had put a lot into this. Mr. Tim McKee, who's the general manager there, had really worked with me to put a reoccurring show in the Olympus Theater, which is on the Menjo's Entertainment Complex property. And we were all ready to open. I mean, I had my suitcases by the door. We were ready to go. And he contacted me and said, there's something going on. The governor is saying something. Get back with me. And everything went south.
Yeah.
So that was very different. Menjo's is thriving. It's still open. They're working with all the governor's mandates. We're well within the confines of the law. They still having events, but it's been very precarious for shows for female impersonators on the property. When it was still warm outside, they were doing them on the patio, as many clubs were, because the governor was saying, according to CDC guidelines, it was safer because there were air currents, et cetera, with social distancing, et cetera. Now it's getting cold in Michigan, and they've really had to move inside. But being able to serve food allows them to stay open with restrictions and, of course, diminished capacity. So we're all just kind of praying, truly praying that the gay bar system can stay alive. They're really struggling, and they're struggling for us. They're struggling to provide safe haven for us, social haven. And it's a really difficult time.
It really is. We've had, I'm in New York City. We've had quite a few entertainment venues and clubs in general just shut down. And every time something happens, it's a piece of us that goes away, because we have a memory there. We have our first kiss, or our promiscuous activity, or our girlfriends that we've met in the back room and did their makeup, or they did ours, and it's something that is a part of our lives, and unfortunately they're being taken away in a faster way than they were before. Before, it was unfortunately being taken away because as social media grows, we have less and less contact in bars, and now it's because of a pandemic that we can't even go out and have a cocktail anymore and just sit there and chat with our girlfriends or our boyfriends or whoever. So it is definitely it's a new world we live in, and fortunately I get to chat with wonderful people like you through social media, but it's definitely not the same as when we get to chat in person.
I must also say, just because I don't want to be remiss here, even in the face of pandemic, um, you mentioned Backstreet earlier. I was the show director at Backstreet for years when it was on Greenfield here in Detroit. But
Yes.
it has opened up in a new incarnation in Detroit, a huge complex with an eatery in it and a dance hall, and it's just recently getting its footing, and it will have shows. They're producing shows as we speak. So in the middle of a pandemic, I mean, I don't exactly know who would be strong enough to approach this as a project, but they have. And I don't have any connection with Backstreet, but I'm beginning to see postings of shows and events. So there is life. Don't count us out yet. Don't count us
Never.
out yet.
We will always thrive in one way or another in our community. We tend to find a way to build and to continue to grow. So I'm very happy to hear that. That brought joy to my heart to hear that Backstreet is back and alive, because there was a while even before the pandemic where Backstreet was just not around. So I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for saying that. Wow. We talked a little bit about pageantry. We talked about knowing Skip McCall, and I have a question for you again that's not on our list, but outside of Miss America, I actually do not know this, and I would love to hear from you. What other systems were you entered in? Did you compete in?
I'm often asked that. When I first, I was working at a club here in Detroit called Bookies, Bookies Club 870, which was in the heart of Detroit, and it was an old supper club originally that hosted lounge singers and singers from the 50s with a small quartet on stage, etc. And it passed through several ownerships, and it ended up with a gentleman, Mr. Bookie Stewart, that had formerly been involved in female impersonation, producing female impersonation in the Detroit area. And he opened it, began to produce female impersonation shows there. And I auditioned there in 1976, and he hired me. And within that 1976, 1977, 2 years or so, a friend of mine had a magazine called, I tell this story all the time. He had a magazine called David Magazine. David Magazine was a magazine that was produced exclusively out of the Florida area. It was a gay magazine, very much like the Cruise magazine that was indigenous to Texas, like This Week in Texas, and eventually moved around the country. On the back of that magazine, there was a lady. And I saw the lady, and I said, and she had a crown on. And I said, "What a pretty lady." And my friend said, "That's a guy." And I said, "No, we're guys that do, that dress up like girls, but that's a woman. I think that's the real Miss America." And underneath was the caption, "Rachel Wells wins Miss Gay America." And I said, and I remember the bubble over my head, the light bulb. I went, "Oh my God, that's a guy. He's so pretty." And I tried to get more information on it. And I thought, "Oh, you're kidding me. They have a contest in the United States where you can enter, and they get all these kids together that are good at their craft, like the real Miss America thing. I want to go there." And so if that was the impetus of me entering pageantry, the only thing I ever, 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 ever wanted to be was Miss Gay America. So after I achieved that goal, people said to me, "Okay, you might not have the goods to go in other systems, but you got the smarts." So you have to remember that I was the 10th Miss America.
Yeah.
The 9 people before me and myself became the blueprint for pageantry as we know it today. So
Yes.
when I won Miss Gay America, Jim Flint, that created Continental, was in it with me. Jim Flint and I sat in the same room waiting for our male interview. And Jim Flint said to me and one other person, Leslie Regine, who was one of his contestants, he said, I like this system, but I think I want to start my own. I got ideas. And I was like, hey, more systems, more opportunities for kids that are actors, actresses to achieve their goals. I won. The next year, Jim Flint started Miss Continental and Chili won. Chili Pepper and I reigned in the same year. I was the 10th Miss Gay America. Chili was the first Miss Continental. And that was history. So when people said to me, do you want to be something else? I think it's wise for somebody to, it's always good to be ambitious, but you need to know your limitations and your lane. I had been approached to enter EOY after my buddy Tasha Cole won. I certainly had been approached as a guy, all guy, to Intercontinental, but one has to weigh their odds. And you don't want to be a guy in a ladies' contest. It's a very difficult. I'd much rather sit and watch the beautiful women and clap and scream than be up there, trying to hide my beard and nervous as hell. So yes, I only ever wanted to be Miss America. So luckily for me, Miss America, I made so many connections. One of those connections was Larry Edwards, Miss Hot Chocolate.
Yes.
And one of those connections was Michael Andrews, Miss America from 1975-76. And Michael and Larry both got involved in this production called An Evening at La Cage. And along the way, within the first few years, short sidebar story. I always had hair down to my.
Please do.
I always, because it connects the dots. I always, as Jennifer Foxx, I always had hair down to my butt, big boobs, running around in a circle to the latest top 40 records. And some guy came up to me, good-looking guy, one night came up to me and said, "You're very good." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much, sir. You're so sweet." And he said, "You know who you look like?" And I said, "Like Raquel Welch?" And he said, "No, you look like Joan Rivers." And I was just crushed. I was just crushed. I said, I'm a beautiful man. And he said, "Yeah, you look like Joan Rivers." And you got to remember at that time, Joan Rivers pulled her hair back in a bun like Martha Washington. I mean, she wasn't glamorous at all. So it wasn't really a compliment. And shortly thereafter, Joan Rivers produced an album called What Becomes a Legend Most. And I bought that album and began to learn her actual words. They're not lyrics because there's no music. And I began to pantomime it in bars as an alternative to Jennifer Foxx because I wanted the audience's attention. And I thought, they already know this Jennifer Foxx person. But if I come out and dance my butt off and roll on the floor and then come out and do jokes, they're going to go, there's something to this kid.
Yeah.
And that's what led me. Oh, there I am. And that's what led me to have some history as Mr. Joan Rivers. Okay, back to the original conversation. Michael Andrews and Larry Edwards, Hot Chocolate, called me and said, "We're going to Japan with an evening at La Cage. Would you like to host the show? We've pitched you to our producer, Norbert Alleman." And I said, "I'm only pantomiming her. I don't really have an act. I would love to go, but I know you need a live MC. I have to pass, which I could still kick myself. And they went to Japan, and I didn't. Years later, in Michigan, we had a huge venue called the Premier Center. The Premier Center was a 2,000-seater that hosted Tom Jones, Dolly Parton, Dionne Warwick, etc. And they called me and said, we want to recreate a show called An Evening at La Cage. And we think you'd be a good guy to put it together and headline it as Joan Rivers. And I said, I'm very interested. And I went in, and through a long series of events, they put me in a show called Putting on the Stars, which was an all live show. But they had like a guy that did Elvis and sang as Elvis, and a guy that did Neil Diamond, and they had a Marilyn Monroe that sang as Marilyn Monroe, and they had me. And it was so well received that the show. And they gave me my own impersonation show, and I called it Mirage. And it ran there, opening for Dolly Parton and Tom Jones and everybody for 2 years in Detroit. And then the producer of An Evening at La Cage called me and said, how's your show going, Bobby? I haven't met you yet. And I'm like, we're breaking records. It's sold out. It's just great. And he said, I'm interested in auditioning you in Las Vegas for a show called An Evening at La Cage. And I said, my buddies work in that show, Michael Andrews and Hot Chocolate. And he said, they work for me. I'm going to fly you here and audition. And he flew me there and he hired me. And he put me in Las Vegas for 3 or 4 months. And then we opened a show in Honolulu for 6 months. And then he gave me my own show at Bally's Park Place in Atlantic City on the boardwalk for 5 years. 13 shows a week. Be careful what you ask for. Yeah, and I was there for 5 years. So that's why I never entered another system, to address your original question. My heart belonged to Miss America. And then when I got into the casino industry, I loved it. I love the casino industry. And that brings us up to current days, within current days.
Yeah. Wow. Those are such wonderful stories. And every bit of the way I felt like I was actually in the journey. So thank you for that. Arione de Cardeza, Fox is my spirit animal. Her presence changed my path. Yes, Arione, a very dear sister.
I have to address Arione. He's a newer person. She is a newer person in my life. As of the last 5 or 6 years, contacted me just on Facebook and said, I just need a moment of your time to express my appreciation for your presence in the art form, and was just so very kind to me and expressed such an interest in gay pageantry history. And he said, his thing has always been, and I've never met him in person, but his thing has always been, I just want to be lovely. And he's so lovely. You're so lovely, child. You're so lovely, and your future is so bright. So don't stray. Keep on the path. You'll have anything you want. He's a great kid.
I can add to that and just say that Arione is a very dear friend of mine, and he and on stage she are both lovely people.
Lovely.
And will do anything for anybody. I can just say yes, beautiful and beautiful outside and inside. So
he's a good one. He's a good one.
There's another comment, Dominic, you were putting up. Sorry, Chad Mankey says, "I love you, Jennifer. Sweet vanilla cakes."
This boy is a Detroit staple on the show scene. He's a true aficionado of female impersonation. Very constructively critical. He loves the girls, and he's part of the culture. And he's always been very kind to me. Always been very kind and very reverent. Good show, Jennifer. Just like you'd want to hear. when you're really low and somebody comes by and goes, really love, that was a pretty pink dress. That's that boy. And he's, we love
Well,
him in
thank you,
Detroit.
Chad.
We love him.
Thank you, Chad, for tuning in and for commenting. You mentioned Tasha. You've mentioned a few other you mentioned Hot Chocolate. They are your MGA sisters. And the question I have for you is, when you won the competition, when you were there in the moment, do you still remember to this day how you felt? Do you remember what it was like having the crown placed on your head? And what was going through your head, if you do remember?
Well, each individual's experience is different, of course, and mine was equally as different. I had entered Miss Gay America 6 times, and at that time, I think it was unprecedented. But now, I think Cody Collins entered 11 or something. I mean, it got bigger. Yeah. Rachel Wells, I think, entered 6 or 7 times too. Anyway, I entered a lot of times. And I was a very focused person. I'm a very eye on the prize person, which is a good thing for me, but at that particular time didn't service me. I wasn't. Instead of being more social, I thought the work was the key. So I was very focused on the work. Don't bother me right now, I'm working. But don't bother me now, I'm working. I was that guy. And I was trying to learn everything I could and sponge and absorb everything I could. I was 4th runner-up. I was 5th runner-up. I was 4th runner-up. I was 3rd runner-up. I got put back a year. Then I was 2nd run. I mean, it just continued. And I knew this was in my future. The unfortunate part of that is I started with no money. Contests today are a totally different thing than they were then. Nobody had dancers. I was one of the first to ever have dancers. Nobody had special effects. I was the first one to bring special effects, visual effects to Miss America. All of that spawned from me and my constituency. But those were people that believed in my dream and did it for me. My dancers were my friends. They paid their own way. They paid for their room. They took their vacations from work. They drove to Dallas. They drove to Atlanta from Michigan. They drove to St. Louis. All this was from their graciousness for me to accomplish my dream. Who gets that? Who gets that? So the first year, the second year, the third year, your dream begins to tarnish. People fall away. The group gets smaller. The high fives get less. It's rational. Maybe he's never going to win this thing. Maybe he's a good guy. We love Bobby, but I mean, what if all this is to no avail? So by the time we got down to the 6th year, I asked my mother to go with me. And I only had one of my dancers out of my 4 dancers that were left agreeably to go with me. We flew to Dallas. I enlisted another boy that was a dancer at the Landing at the time in Dallas, paid him very little, taught him the choreography. He danced with my dancer, Tony Brown, and my mother was in attendance, and we won. I tell you all that to try to make you understand what the emotions were on the stage of the Dallas Convention Center on September 27th, when I was crowned the 10th Miss Gay America. I was relieved. I was elated. So many people had invested so much time in me, so many people, for me to get to that moment for free, for nothing, asking nothing in return, only to accomplish my dream. That was the ultimate validation for all of those people that gave me all of their time, all of their prayers, all of their good wishes, all of their hugs, all of their money. They gave me money. It validated all of their hard work. So even though it was the crown was on my head, I crowned each of them. And that sounds corny, but it's true. I crowned their efforts.
No, that's very true.
I crowned their efforts to get me there. And I had my mother there with me. I hugged her. There was a photographer there. He took a picture of us, UPI, and picked it up. It was on the cover of the the New York Times the next day, and 100 publications throughout the United States of me hugging my mother and winning the Miss Gay America pageant. It was overwhelming. It was the beginning of a new chapter in my life, and it gave me the clout to be able to stand up in a society. This is a very different time. This was a very different time. Now, with the advent of RuPaul and gay rights, as we continue to fight, please don't misinterpret my statements. I stood alone. I stood alone. Yeah. And it gave me enough clout to be booked as the first female impersonator on nationally syndicated television on the Tom Snyder Show. And they flew me there with my mother, and I got to speak on behalf of the Miss Gay America pageantry system. I was the first one to ever do that in America in 1981. As a result, it opened the doors for all of us as female impersonators to appear on national television. It was also an era of exploitation, so they got a lot of us in some compromising positions as they produced these shows. But I was the first one that legitimately went to nationally syndicated television, which allowed me to further our pageantry system and us as gay people at large. Because I didn't go on in face. I went on in a suit with my mother to try to convey that this was an art form to the masses. And I was a sculptor. I was a painter. I was an actor. I was a hairdresser. I was a dancer. It culminated, I was a female impersonator. I won this pageant. We are just like you. It was my message, and it resonated throughout the country. As I toured as Miss America, nobody had ever, as Miss America before me, taken the microphone at the end of their performance. We had to do 2 numbers in all of our preliminaries. And when I finished when you finish your second number, they go, okay, you can go back in the dressing room. We'll pay you in a little while, get you back to the airport. And I always would say, I need to speak to the people. And they were like, what do you have to say? And I said, I just need to speak to the people. Until that time in 1981, there was no actual hierarchy of understanding. There were no elders that had talked to the gay masses. They were never validated. They were told they were bad people, that they were scarred, that they were poison, that they were going to hell, that they were worthless. And I had a platform, and they admired that platform, and I stood and told them that they were God's kids. They had never heard this before. And the way I framed it was, you hold the gay dollar. We are financially viable, folks. Everybody in here has a business. All of you hairdressers, all of you florists contribute to the economy. We have a gay voice. We have leverage. Don't let them do this to you. And I had little cards printed up with my name and address on them and a post office box. and I opened 2 post office boxes. And for the next 2 years, I got letters from all over the country saying, you allowed me to come out. I told my mother who I was. My dad doesn't hate me anymore. I feel good about me. Nobody ever said I was okay. You said I was okay. I'm okay. That was huge, not only for me, but for them. And it was the beginning of what is not solely, believe me, I wasn't the impetus, but I contributed to the beginning of what is gay pride today.
Yeah.
And that was, I was given that opportunity to tell people in cornfields and places that we didn't have social media then, that had never seen a gay person, but went to a gay bar once every 6 months, and had the opportunity to hear me speak and said, I'm not a freak. I'm not a freak. I'm equal. I'm equal. I can put my shoulders back. I can put my head up. I'm a contributor in today's society. And that was, I am so honored to have had that opportunity. So honored.
Well, I can say, well, we'll take this comment first. Jennifer Foxx, you are the most amazing entertainer I've ever had the chance to meet and work with, from Thomas Howie.
Tom Howie is he's a live vocalist, and my good buddy that I've worked with for years. He's a fabulous singer, and right back at you, Tommy. He's another good boy. I've been so fortunate. I mean, most of these comments that will come up, these are people that I know that I have a heartfelt connection with. Yeah, they make me want to cry. I love you, Tommy. I love you, honey.
Destiny K. Carter says, Jennifer Foxx is a true icon, a true inspiration to me and other entertainers, which is very true. You are a true inspiration to me as well. Jerry, Tasha Cole, hey loves, sorry I'm late. We are so happy to have you on this show once again. Thank you, Tasha Cole.
Jerry is terminally late because he has so many irons in the fire, and he overextends himself because he's so famous that you can never really tie him down. He's running from here to be successful, and he's successful in this area, and he's successful. So I'm glad you're here, honey, that you got a chance to see a little bit of this. Jerry's Tasha Cole, like I said when we interviewed in the Miss America Dragathon with Pattaya Hart last Sunday, Jerry's one of the most talented people I've ever met, and he's this much Tasha Cole and actually this talented. So his talent would have manifested in any way if he hadn't gone into female impersonation. He's my buddy, and he's heralded me and protected me for a lot of years. I love him very, very much. I love him.
We are both wonderful people. Thank you for.
I love you.
You've both been on this show, which is so awe-inspiring to me. You mentioned a little bit about how you spoke to the queer community. You were out in cornfields. You were talking to everybody, and I've said this because of people like you and because of people like Tasha, that instead of just being entertainers and instead of just walking into a venue and doing your 2 numbers or 3 numbers and collecting your coin and walking out, we are the soapbox, we're the megaphone, we are the people who get to say what needs to be said as the entertainers for our community. And so thank you for being somebody who was not afraid to say, I'm not just going to do my 2 numbers. I am going to say something to the audience. I am going to be the voice for them at this moment because they are not on the microphone, and so I can be. And having those words of encouragement for them. So thank you for starting that mindset off, because that's how I feel. I feel like we need to be that as not just national title holders or previous national title holders, but as drag entertainers in general. We should be those people for our community.
Well, the art form of female impersonation continues to evolve, as you've seen with the recent advent of the huge success of RuPaul and the kids. It continues to evolve. The when I chose it, I'm trying to tie a couple conversations together here. An earlier conversation, we didn't really know that we were branding.
Right.
So that was early on. Then we didn't really know that we were being spokespeople. Now I can I consistently say, not to a lot of happiness from other people, because nobody likes change. But the days of, I know, and I say this with great reverence and great admiration, I know, we'll just say 100. I know 100 girls with beautiful faces. They can't put two sentences together. The days of, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're a visual artist. But in pageantry, not talking about just the art form, in pageantry, the days of having a beautiful face and a bag of beaded dresses is now passé.
Yeah.
We are in a critical time politically. Our climate is supercharged. With a platform like this, it should have happened before. But with a platform like this, you need a personal platform in which to dedicate yourself to the system, not something shiny, not something that you just pick something out of the blue, something that your heart feels is the reason that everybody wants to win, because a contest, a pageant, because you feel it's validation of your personal art form, and because we all want attention. We were little kids that wanted attention. We're adults that want attention. Hello, we're entertainers. We're deep vats of endless need.
Yeah.
But aside from that, you need to have a platform. This is your opportunity to actually use your voice, and you're seeing this begin to manifest. People are working within the Miss Gay America system. They're working with homeless people. They're working with food insecure groups. I mean, it's starting to manifest. Blair Williams did a lot of work. That was, it's important to matter. This isn't about you. This Miss Gay America thing was really never about me. It was about you. I wanted to speak for you, and I still want to speak for you, because God gave me the ability to communicate, to whatever extent it is. And if I have to get our point across and communicate with the masses, if I have to wear a suit and do it, I will. It's who I am. We need to have a politically sound platform behind our characters as female impersonators. Do some good. Move the needle. Help us. We need to forward the gay community at large, and we can do it through pageantry and female impersonation. And we've never had as many platforms or media venues before. I mean, we used to have a landline and a stamp. Those were our connections to the outside world. Now you have a plethora of connections between you and people around the world. This is your time to develop a platform. And I'm telling you, as possible contestants for Continental, Miss America, AAG, EOY, come into, be sincere with yourself, look inside your heart, find a platform for yourself, and go into your interview with that preceding you. Set this up on social media. I'm involved in feeding the homeless. We buy coats for tots, whatever it is. So when you get to your interview, you say, I'm so glad to be here and I want you to love me. As a matter of fact, this is what I'm doing with my time when I'm not working my 9-to-5 job, if that's what you do, and pursuing my dream in pageantry. I lend my efforts to this platform. It humanizes you. It shows you're altruistic and, of course, philanthropic. It shows that you care and you're a more well-rounded entertainer. As entertainers, we're me, 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 me. Aren't I pretty? Look at me, 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 me. There, to actually stand out from your competitors, you have to have a heartfelt direction. Show that to the judges. It'll be immeasurable in your favor.
Wow. Thank you for saying all of that. I couldn't agree with you more. That touched me in so many ways as you were speaking. I can only say what I said before, which is what I've always thought, is that we are the megaphones for our community, and we are able to say things that other people are not necessarily in our community able to say. So we can, in today's day and age especially, we can walk into a bachelorette party or a bachelor party at this point, and they welcome drag queens or female impersonators, and we're able to walk up to those people and say, did you register to vote today? Have you made a difference in your community today? Have you donated to this and this and this and this? And they're intimidated in a way, but they're also listening to what we say. So it's our job to make that difference, and it's our job to say the things that you've said and the things that I believe to be true, and know our community is beyond good enough and beyond capable of saying and doing. And so anybody listening, please listen to the wise and beautiful words of Jennifer Foxx, because those were words that touched me down to my soul. So thank you.
Oh, how kind.
You did mention that it is beyond shiny things, which is obviously the crown. I do want to know, though, are you still in possession of your crown from Miss Gay America?
Well, this is always an interesting conversation. Believe it or not, in the early days of Miss America, we didn't get to keep our crowns.
Oh.
And I know and no matter who you say that to, they go, it's very Home Alone. What?
That is interesting to know.
Because as a female impersonator, it's the epitome of what you could do. And then you go, oh, we didn't get a crown. And they go, how could you not get a crown? In the early days, the protocol hadn't been really set out. So we crowned the next individual with the crown. And by the time it got to me, I was actually, and I always get lambasted for this, but I was crowned Miss Gay America with the Lady Sean Miss Dallas crown. It was in the dressing room, and it got down to the end of the night, and the powers that be said, we got to have a crown to put on the winner's head. And Lady Sean was the step down lady that was getting ready that evening. And she said, well, I've got my Miss Dallas crown if you want to use that. And so they crowned me, and that's what you'll see on my head on the New York Times and 100 other publications was Lady Sean's Dallas crown. Wow. And as soon as it was over and they took the last picture, they said, give us the crown. So I had no crown to tour with, all the preliminaries. So yes, I bought my own crown. All right, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
No, don't be embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed. And it was really a tiara. It was a big tiara, because I could never get a crown I mean, I tried somebody else's crown on it. It would always do this. So I knew if I got a tea, I could stick it in there somewhere. And I still have that. Interestingly enough, sidebar, years and years and years later, maybe 20 years later, Lady Sean and I had a conversation. And she said, we were really busy that evening. Did they put my crown on your head? Because it looked like my crown. And I said, yeah, I think you gave it to somebody and they crowned me with it. And she said, what are you using for a crown? And I said, I bought myself a crown. And she sent me that crown in the mail. And I still have it. Lady Sean Daniel passed away, of course, a number of years ago. But I have my tiara that I bought myself, but it's a big thing, but it holds no worth compared to Danny Marshall, the Lady Sean's Miss Dallas crown, because it was a part of him. And we all loved each other so very much. So every time I dust it off and I think of Danny, the Lady Sean, and that we were both crowned with it, and it's a warm feeling. It's a warm. We miss the Lady Sean so very much.
Thank you for that story again. I feel like I keep thanking you for these stories, but they truly do mean a lot to hear. You've speaking of passing crowns, you've seen the Miss Gay America system passed along from the original owner to Larry and Terry were there for a little while. There is, why can I not think of her name? That is Norman. Norman owned before Larry and Terry, and now Michael and Rob. How has that been interacting with all of those owners, and what has been kind of the, I don't want to say thought process, but what has been the feeling from the formers seeing the system continue to be passed on?
Well, once again, I must say I am not a spokesperson for the Miss Gay America pageantry system. These are my own opinions. Overall, I believe that the universe has a plan. And if you look at Miss Gay America as an institution, a total institution, not broken up by owners, but a total institution, you can see the chronology and why it happened this way. When Norman Jones, who is Norma Christie, the very first Miss Gay America,
and I'm sorry,
obtained
Norma,
it.
I'm so sorry for not remembering your name off the top of my head. I'm so sorry if you're watching.
That's okay. You have a lot in your head, honey. When he obtained the contest from Jerry Peak, who was the originator of the Miss Gay America pageantry system, Norman was a one-man show, and he had to actually set a set of rules in place and create a protocol that would be Miss Gay America. Norman did that on his own, and that reflected Norman's values and outlook and projection for the future that he would like to see Miss America take on. And that's what he did. Under the Norman years, the pageant was formulated. It found its way. It was nourished by Norman himself and the people that he trusted. And it became a vital force. You have to remember, I always have to remind people, up until I was Miss America, we were the only pageantry system in America. You know, now everybody's like, oh, it all started together. It didn't start together. We were a decade before anybody else had a pageant. A decade, 10 years. So for all those years, Norman protected us, legislated us, guided us. He formed the image that would be Miss America. That was a hard job because the 10 of us were a handful. The 9 of us after Norman were a handful. Very different personalities, from Michael Andrews to Sean Louis to Rachel Wells. I mean, we were all very different personalities that he trusted to go out on the road with his name to address the gay community through entertainment. So that was paramount, that Norman was the rock that formed Miss America. When Norman passed it on to L&T Entertainment, there was another set of protocols, another way to do things. But what remained the same was the inherent focus of what Miss America meant. Miss America was a gentleman, a politician, that through entertainment got to speak to the masses and work on furthering the Miss Gay America pageantry system through their personal talents and their personalities. And that they fostered, and they fostered it well. Very good with people, very personable. Everybody has a different opinion. I understand. I'm relaying mine. Very hands-on for their representative, which furthered the pageant. Currently, it's in the hands of Mad Angel Entertainment. And Mad Angel, they're very smart gentlemen and very attuned with today's female impersonation. And they know how to elevate this pageant without alienating the history of the pageant and those that hold it so near and so beloved, which was the most necessary thing. We needed somebody to come in to say, we have a new viewpoint, perhaps fresh to some, but we want to do it with great reverence to the inherent values of what Miss America was created as. And we want to foster that for the next generation of people. And they're doing that just beautifully. Really good gentlemen, really good business people. And as holders of this crown, it's very endearing because as the ownership has passed hands, their admiration for us hasn't diminished. So with each new regime, you're greeted with, "You're Jennifer Foxx? Oh my goodness gracious. I remember when I saw you and I was a little boy and you were on TV, and it's because they're lovers of pageantry, before they're business people. They're lovers of pageantry and they protect that image that has become the Miss Gay America pageantry system. So I'm very grateful. I've always been really appreciative of them being able to bend, because every time there's a new regime, people are skeptical. It's never going to be like the old days. It was the best back then, and all art evolves. And these three regimes have furthered it to where we are today. And we're in a really good place now. Yeah. With Pattaya Hart at the top of this thing right now for 2 years. Yes, you got 2 years out of this. You did it. We continue to expand our horizons. With the Asia O'Hara's and the RuPaul connection, with the Randy Finolis and the TLC connection, which is a perfect time to put in, Mad Angel Entertainment, and in conjunction with Randy Finoli, Miss Brandy Alexander, are pitching a docuseries of Miss Gay America, 7 or 8 episodes, to be produced from the same producers that produced the former documentary pageant that was about the Miss Gay America system. And Randy has great hopes that they're going to take this pitch and they're going to produce this thing. Darius Codell Couture, beautiful springboard. Used Miss America as a springboard, has a beautiful couture line and has for the longest time. These people are much more than performers. They're business people, they're artists. You always have to remember, within the sound of my voice, Miss Gay America is an excellent springboard for you to go on and accomplish higher goals in your life. Miss Gay America isn't the end-all be-all. and it's really forecasted by the former winners and the people you see. Larry Edwards, star of Las Vegas, Hot Chocolate for all these years. The crown is a springboard. It's a puzzle piece in your plan to get where you need to go. I feel that.
I feel that.
I feel that.
And you're encouraging me. I've already said to you, Miss America is a system that I want to get involved in the near future. And you're only encouraging me more than I've already been encouraged to join that. I've dressed, I've been in talents, I've been on that America stage in other capacities, but there will be a time, hopefully sooner rather than later, that I will be on that stage myself and competing. But it's because of entertainers like yourself and Tasha and Larry and all of the Rachel Wells and the Nicole Dubois, who I believe pageant was her year that she won, correct? And
I love Nicole. I love Nicole.
Same.
Oh, such an open-hearted, lovely individual. Lovely boy, great performer. We're always very proud to mention that Nicole Dubois is part of our sisterhood and part of our family.
I'm hoping actually Nicole Dubois will be part of my Gay United States family this coming year. I know that there's a crowning happening for Miss Gay United States Icon, one of the prelims, and Nicole Dubois is partaking in that. And actually, another one of your Miss Gay America sisters, Sabrina White, was just crowned prelim for Miss Gay United States. And we have Cody Collins in the family and Jessica Jade, and all of you and all of them have just made it even more apparent that I need to be part of the America system.
I mean, talk about Cody and Jessica and Jade. Oh my goodness. Truly powerhouses.
Yes.
In the Miss Gay America crown. I mean, truly, the analogy I know gets old, but truly shining jewels in the Miss Gay America crown. You can't, in preparation and execution, you can't touch Jessica Jade.
100% agree.
That child is fierce.
Yes.
Cody Collins is probably one of the most beloved of all the Miss Americas. Just truly beloved, and for all the right reasons. They love David Lohman. Aside for being a fine entertainer. And Sabrina White, get out of her way. Get out of her way. Sabrina White, you can't tell Sabrina White no. She puts her eye on something, she's laser focused, and she gets it. She's a fierce competitor, and she's got everything to back it up. We're so proud of Sabrina White at Miss Gay America, that she will stand on the stage with us, because she's something. She's something great. You're great, kid.
Truly, I could not agree with you more. They are such wonderful individuals. I actually am going to see Sabrina compete at Miss Gay United States in November. So
cool.
We'll be posting updates so you can see. Speaking of competitions, we are in the midst of a pandemic. Competitions are slowly starting to release dates on when they're coming back. What do you feel, in your personal opinion, this pandemic is going to have? What impact is this pandemic going to have on competitions in the future?
Well, when I originally read that question that you posed, I didn't have a direct answer, because I think at large, the actual question is, how is this affecting us all? What is the rebound going to be? In the broad scheme, in the big scheme of things, pageantry is such a action of what will be affected. So far, it hasn't affected pageantry at all. It's just put it behind 1 year, and with common sense, they've extended the professional reign to the next year, which was the right thing to do, because you can't hold a contest in a pandemic. However, as Americans, I believe we have to rationalize and realize nothing will ever be the same. There will be no new normal. Things will normalize, but that we will never return to what it once was. And it will take a time. It's like water. It will find its own level, but it's going to take a time. This is a natural phenomena. This worldwide pandemic is a natural phenomena, and it's going to affect all of us going forward in all aspects of our life. And we've already seen this. We're 7 months in now, since they actually declared it a pandemic. And it's going to affect everything. I think when I really thought about your question, I think what it's done for most feeling people, it's made us reevaluate exactly what was and what continues to be important. Many things that were important before the pandemic have fallen by the wayside. We are majorly concerned now about our health and our families. Pageantry takes a back seat to that. However, I think when pageantry is allowed to resume, that like every other aspect in our lives, we're going to be grateful for the opportunity to participate, to feel our innermost feelings regarding what's important to us. I think a sense of family is exaggerated more so than ever now, and pageantry is a family. And if you're ever inside pageantry, you understand what that family is. You don't have to win the crown to understand the concept of family. All of us within the pageantry system, even different systems, understand pageantry. And we understand the meaning of family between pageantry systems. You know, I watched Paris, France. I've never met Paris before, and I watched her on your last show, and I couldn't feel closer to her now with her transparency and her beauty of soul. I think we'll appreciate all of that more so than we ever have before. And I also think that it gives us more of a timeline on how much time we have left here. You know, this could have been a pandemic that was more stringently wiped us out. It could have been the Black Plague. And I've already been through one massacre and continue to be through one social plague. I lived survivor through the HIV/AIDS epidemic. This hasn't gone away. You know, I lost 90% of my friends within an 8-month period. You never recover from that. So this doesn't make it easier that I've already been through one pandemic, and my brethren have also been through that pandemic with me, but it allows one to understand that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we will emerge more grateful that we have another chance, Protect yourself. Protect the people you love. Wear a mask. Listen to the science. We're listening to the science. Follow the science, ladies and gentlemen. You know this. No matter what you think, in your heart, you know that we need to follow the science. It's the only way we're going to get out of this. Listen to your hearts. Protect those that you love, and protect yourself. And bring back pageantry, because we need it bad.
We really do. Thank you for all of that again. You actually brought me a little to tears. Thank you for being so passionate and so in tune with what's going on. I do feel like the more I talk to people, sometimes I'm just in awe at how not in tune people can be. And so when people are in tune, it's such a refreshing feeling, and it's almost a weight lifted off of you when you have somebody who's in agreement with what you're saying. So you're still projecting what you need to project, but you feel like you have a partner in that projection. So thank you.
Validation feels good.
It does.
You need
it does.
You need to validate the people around you. No
Yeah.
matter how pretty we are or how smart we are or how old or young we are, inside, we're just one little person that needs to be heard. Just
Yeah.
one little person with a set of ideas that have come to you through the conditioning of your life, what you've been exposed to, and you have opinions. And when someone else voices their opinions and validates yours, you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And that's our job as people. That's what inclusivity is about. I hear you. I see you. Nobody's by themselves if you connect with other people. We're all so afraid. It's always interesting when they go, we've never been more connected than social media allows us to, yet we've never been so personally alone. And when I first heard that, I thought, that's dumb. What is that? And I really had to get it, think about it, and say it again and get it and think about it. And I said, oh, it is true, because social media allows you to portray the person you want to be, pretty, young, popular. But inside, we're just little boys and girls with opinions. And when someone validates your opinion, it's life-changing. It's life-changing.
Yeah. Just off of that, such an inspiration. Wow, that's actually what I was about to say. This is my husband. He is actually a healthcare worker and works during this pandemic. He was actually at the hospital in New York City that had the most COVID cases in New York City at one time, which was Elmhurst in Queens. And so, I was in my home doing my day job and never leaving. It felt hard to go to the grocery store. It felt hard to go to take my dog on a walk, because if I was doing something wrong, or if I came in contact with somebody, I was putting him at risk. And then he had patients who were at risk, and he was coming home, and I'm sure he has stories beyond what I even know, because he's that type of person and is very in tune with doctor-patient confidentiality and all of that. But just the things I would hear from him and his colleagues just speaking, it's so hard for me to not register when people say things opposite of what you and I say, which is like, just put your mask on, go for your COVID test. Having a swab in your nose is, I've had it done twice now. It's not a crazy experience. It's not comfortable, but what is in life? Especially when you're talking to people who have been in female impersonation gear. we know what it is like to be uncomfortable sometimes, especially when you talk about shoes or the garments we wear. So how is it hard to take 30 seconds out of your life to have a swab in your nose, or to put a mask on to go outside, and it's cloth. Your skin breathes through cloth. Your mouth can definitely breathe through cloth. So again, thank you for saying that, and thank you for expressing that viewpoint, because it's something I share with you. To take on a little different note, I am very interested in this because I have looked up to you and seen you perform for my entire female impersonation career and beyond. But what actually did give you this? What gave Jennifer Foxx her style? There is a story I do want you to tell, and I'll bring that up in just a second, because you actually wrote a little anecdote on it on your Facebook page the other day, and so it made me really want to look into that. But what started Jennifer Foxx on her style, and how has Jennifer's style changed over the years?
Well, what you have to understand is when I came into this industry, you have to know about the history of female impersonation. Female impersonators in the 50s sang with their own voices, usually were on the bill with burlesque strippers, um, sometimes a magician. They were part of variety shows, and there was always a combo on stage: a drummer, a bass player, and the female impersonators would sing with their own voices or strip if they were, so inclined. Beautiful female impersonators at that time. It was a much different art form. The 60s came about, that continued. At the late 60s, pantomime began to seep into what was only really presented in straight venues, more so presented in straight venues at that time. This was John and Mary Smith from the suburbs coming to see the beautiful men that dressed up like women. Although drag has always been presented in gay bars, when pantomime became the mode of communication or presentation, it was easier for gay bars. Everybody had a turntable and some speakers. It was hard to hire a quartet to come into your bar with charts, and everybody had to bring their charts in. You had to find people that could sing, so the art form evolved into that. So suddenly it was much easier. Hey, take a sun lamp, clip it to the ceiling, get a CD deck, put it on, come out in a pretty dress and pantomime. The art form visually hadn't progressed beyond that. Everybody wore big updos and empire waisted dresses. Everything was very pretty. It was very pretty. The advent in our chronology that changed that was disco. When disco dropped, all of us as young kids went, "It's my music. It's my music." Suddenly those updos became gypsy wigs, long gypsy wigs. You took that old dress that you had and took a pair of scissors to it and cut the whole thing up so it was just a rag dress, and you blew into the gay bars, and it was a whole new art form. So when that came about, I never identified with the 50s and the 60s female impersonators because I was hot-blooded and, in my early 20s, I wanted to get out there and show them. And I'm like, I didn't identify with that. When house music came into play, I was like, this is our medium. This is our voice. So I had always loved glamour. I'd always loved glamour. And of course, what goes with glamour? Sex. So I had always loved glamour and sex. And I went to I was making clothes I tell this story so many times. I was making clothing for women, knocking off couture dresses for doctors' wives. And somebody said, I have a referral for you. This lady needs a dress. Here's the measurements. I'll send you the material. They sent me the material. I made the dress, brought it to the thing. It was a bar, it was a gay bar, and there was a drag show going on. And that night I saw Tiffany Middlesex, famous Miss Florida, Tiffany Middlesex, on the stage at a bar called Maury's Show Lounge on Michigan Avenue in Detroit. And Tiffany came out in this little bar and shut it down. And I just said, oh my God, the talent. Tap dance, had a snake, just multi-talented, arresting talent that arrested the audience. Standing ovations, pantomiming numbers and standing ovations. I was standing, she was pantomiming, I was standing. Just an inherent connection with the audience. Subsequently, I went to another bar, and it was one of those bars that catered to the suburbs, the John and Mary Smith from the suburbs. Sat down. I was only 17 years old, couldn't drink, got a glass of water. They gave it to me. and a little corner stage, a little stage, 8x8. Ladies and gentlemen, Chili Pepper. And I see somebody walking down a little hallway, and they hit a light switch, and the light comes down over the stage, and she steps up 2 little stairs onto this 8x8 platform and finds her key light. And I said, oh my God, that's the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. So Chili's huge image, that sex goddess image, and the talent that was Tiffany Middlesex, I said, that's Jennifer Foxx. That's what I want to shoot for.
Wow.
I could never be as talented as Tiffany nor as beautiful as Chili, but I wanted those beautiful components of both of those beautiful entertainers. And it grew from there. She just grew and evolved through the years. I've always prided myself on adaptability. You have to adapt to remain relevant. And as music trends change, you have to remain true to yourself, but you always have to, if we're going to use pantomime as the medium, be current. Know your classic, have a library of classic hits, but be current. Those people are coming to see you on a regular basis. They want to hear the music they hear on their radio. I believe. A lot of people disagree with me.
Definitely.
But as long as you have your classics that hold you true to the art form and continue to move forward, you evolve with the art form and it keeps you relevant. And you can see that. It delights me because you can see the kids now, the older kids are doing that because they know they're going to be left behind. Like the performers I was talking about earlier from the 50s and 60s, when I came along and was trying to find my place, they were aging out of the art form. And I was going like this. Get out of the way, because we're coming through. Now I'm that person. And I've got young kids going, get out of the way, Jennifer, we're coming through. And so now, now I understand how heartbreaking it was that they were aging out of something that they dearly loved because society and the art form at large was passing them by because they hadn't adapted. So I'm going to adapt till the last dying breath because the kids now are so beautiful and they're so talented and they have so many resources. Once again, we bought our makeup out of a drugstore. There were no tutorials. There were no role models. There were no families. The ball circuit came out of New York. We weren't affected by that in Detroit. So I could never be a part of the family. I didn't know Crystal Lambesia. I didn't know all those kids. Or I'd have migrated to that. I would have been part of the ball circuit. We made our own way here, but we had no elders. We were the elders. So we created our own framework. And luckily, pageantry came along, and pageantry was it was the Miss Gay America pageantry system that created that structure and cohesiveness that I was looking for. Because I'd stand on my soapbox and I would go, I'm an artist and I'm a male actress and I interpret fine songwriters' lyrics. And people were going, sit down, sit down. Who are you? And I'm like, I'm Jennifer Foxx. Like, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean jack to anybody. But when pageantry came along and I saw the structure, I thought, hey,
that's it.
You can gain a voice. And people will go, would you repeat what you just said about there's a structure and we need to do this? And I'd like to hear what you got to say. So I was desperate for Miss Gay America. And it was my goal. And I got it because of the help of so many people.
Yeah.
I was in the right place at the right time so many times. And
well, first of all, I do want to ask you to never stop continuing on because It's an honor to be in the same work as you. So please never stop being Miss Jennifer Foxx. We want to see that continue. There was this is playing into what we're saying, which is your style. There was a story you told on your Facebook the other day about rings. You wear 2 rings when you perform. If you don't mind sharing that, and then I do not want to take up 2 full hours of your time, so I will. Please keep talking, but I do want to hear the story about those 2 rings fully, and then we can round out the interview.
It was a story that I reposted from a number of years ago. When you first start doing, well, I don't know. I can only speak for me. But my observation is when you first start doing drag, everything is bigger and better. Big hair, big earrings down to here, brushing down by your belly button. Rhinestones on everything. Do you want to drag in a rhinestone sink behind you? Sure, rhinestone the sink. I'll bring it. I'll carry it. I'll sit. Anything. Bigger, better. And that's for show. And there's a point behind that. But it's also about insecurity. It's like when people come to do a show and they bring 8 suitcases and they're doing 2 numbers, and they got trunks, and you're like, "Where are you going?" And they're like, "I have to have my stuff with me." That's all about insecurity. When you get older, you end up with a little bag that you pull with a handle, and it's got 3 or 4 beaded dresses in it, and 2 little dance outfits, and your pair of capezios, and a pretty pair of 4-inch heels, and 1 wig that you can twist 5 different ways. You learn what you need for your act. So I never had been a big jewelry person. And my mom had given me a ring. It was a costume ring, but it looked like a diamond. I don't even think it was a cubic zirconia, but it was clear. It was crystal. It was probably a rhinestone and 4 little prongs. I don't know, but it was from my mom, and it fit my ring finger on my left hand. And I wore it since I started. I was working. We have a group called the Golden Girls. It's Miss Denise Russell from Ohio, Sonia Ross from Ohio, Twyla Starr from Ohio, and myself. And we book ourselves in the Midwest area. And we have our regular Viva Diva show, kind of your name, at the Menjo's Entertainment Complex. And we do it 4 or 5 times a year, along with my regular shows that are there. And we were working one night, and Denise Russell said to me, "That's so pretty, that little ring. Is it real?" And I said, "Oh, no." It was like from my mom. And she said, "This hand is so bare." And I said, "Well, this is my pantomime hand because I'm right-handed." And she took a ring off her finger and put it on my hand. And she said, "Now, when you pantomime, you'll sparkle." So I wore it for every show. I clean it, and I have it in a little velvet bag, and I take it out. So I carry my mom with me, and I carry Denise Russell with me. So I was working for Frank Marino's Divas. I'm the touring host for Frank Marino's Divas, which we hope there are things in the works for a 2020 casino contract. Frankie's working on everything, and he's still waiting to go back to work in Legends in Concert. He's the host of Legends in Concert on the Strip in Las Vegas, but he will continue to have his touring show. And I've been so grateful to have been their touring host. And in 2014 or 15, we were in a 3-month run at Harrah's in Reno. And I had never met LaWanda Jackson. And we have everybody in common. Because we've been around forever, both of us. And we knew her. So with the advent of Facebook, LaWanda was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey," and we're like, "Oh, what a strange place to meet on the computer." So we got to know each other, just basically on the computer. And then when Frankie cast the show, he said, LaWanda Jackson's going to be in the show doing Dionne Warwick and Tina Turner. And I was like, oh, I finally get to meet her. So we mounted the show and opened in Reno. And it was grand. And it was only like the first opening week. And I was standing in the wings. The Divas show is the prototype was an evening at La Cage. And I'm Mr. Joan Rivers. And I introduce all the acts, and I have a dresser that changes me 13 times. So every time I come out in a new costume and introduce the act, and then I wrap it up at the end, and blah, blah. I do a monologue at the beginning, blah, blah, blah. So I was standing there waiting for my monologue, and I'm always jittery because you got a full house and you're in a casino, and you just, nerves are good. They're your adrenaline friend. And LaWanda was coming through, and I'm on my own side of the stage. The kids have the entrance on the other side. And LaWanda, for some reason, was coming through, and she said, have a good show. And I was like, yeah, you too. And she said, I said, I'm nervous. And she said, why? I said, I forgot my rings at home in Detroit. And and when you work live and you have a microphone, everything is your hands, and they can see your hands. And, everybody thinks they have man's hands, So we were just standing there in the wings. And she took this big rock off her finger and put it on my finger and said, now, go out there and get them. Shine pretty. And I was just, it's one of those gulp moments where you gulp. And she was walking away, and I'm like, I'm opening in Reno, Nevada, and Legendary LaWanda, gives me a ring. It's about that full circle thing of your heroes turning out to be the people you wanted them to be so dearly. LaWanda is such a lovely, lovely person, and she's admired by so many. And we didn't miss a step. We talked for 5 minutes, and she said, I got you. I know who you are. And I said, I know who you are. We got each other. And then LaWanda went through some bad times, and we still came back and shined brighter than ever in that same show against all odds, which talk about fortitude, talk about success, talk about being driven, talk about the human experience. LaWanda is that person. And she's my friend. She gave me a ring. So that's the story.
Thank you so much for that again. Speaking of people who you look up to, many of us look up to you. And I would love to know advice you have for the newer queens of the ages and the queens that came after you and queens that just look up to you in general.
I think I was asked this recently. Dan Gore from Palm Springs, that owns Oscars and now does the Icon podcast, the Icons podcast, interviewed me a month ago or so. He had Christopher Morley, he had Viva, he had Jimmy James, and I was in line with those people. I got to be interviewed, and he asked me that same thing, and it was an hour interview, and I really fell over the question. I didn't answer it. I didn't make myself proud. So I've had time to think about that, because the answer is obvious. New people coming into show business, especially this business, old people, I use old with the greatest of reverence because I'm old, that are still in this business. Surround yourself with excellence.
Ooh.
You will rise to the occasion. It may not be easy for you, but it will challenge you to be the best you. Surround yourself with the excellence that you can afford, the excellence that you can, that is accessible to you. Try not to settle for anything but the best. If you fall short, it'll be grand. Stay away from drugs. They will cloud your vision and you will not see the final line. You won't see the finish line. In your quest for your goal, it will fly by you. It'll go out of your reach. You'll miss it. It sounds like something that's really obvious. I've seen the most talented and the best of them that you went, that one's a winner, fall by the wayside because they take away your will. Drugs take away your will and they take away your better judgment about what's good for you at the moment. No drugs. Develop a plan. The only way you're going to reach your goals is if you develop a step-by-step plan. It starts with inception. And I'll be the first to tell you, you don't have enough in here to create a plan. You have to brainstorm with people wiser than you. You enlist the best that are at your available beck and call. They can objectively judge you. Don't be the one that says, I'm going to learn to sing in the next 8 months and enter that preliminary. That's not a good path. And a good person will tell you that's irrational. You got a good two-step. Let's work on a dance number. I mean, surround yourself with knowledgeable people that have your best interest at hand. That's where you start. That's the planning stage. Then you get to the execution stage. It's good to be ambitious. It's good to be ambitious. 40 dancers cost a lot. To get that guy in Chicago that has all those fabulous people that dance so beautifully and never miss a step cost a lot of money.
Thank you, Alberto.
Always, I didn't want to say his name. Always remember, we all want that. But if you can't have that, get the best you can. Be ambitious, but stay within your lane. Next step. When you've accomplished step 1 and 2, rehearsal can never be overestimated. You have to hardwire your pageantry proceedings in your brain so much that when you go to sleep, your brain is still running through them, running through them. So that when you're in that actual presentation of that piece of art, that baby that you've created, you do it without even thinking about it. Great example is Pataya Hart. You wind her up, you let her go. She's calibrating the audience. She's calibrating the spotlight. She's calibrating the dancers behind her that she can't even see. And she's performing with her own machine in front of this. You know, that's a brain that works. That's a brain that works. These are computers in here. You have to hardwire them to be able to look like it's being done effortlessly. When you get to that point, always remember, competition is a friendly sport. This is where I made my mistake. I made my mistake. I could have made so many more friends. I could have. I was so focused. I didn't have time for camaraderie. And now all those people have passed away. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to you. Be helpful to those around you. They have the same dream you do. They're competition. They're not your enemies. I mean, we got that thing. You're driven. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill them. You're not going to kill them. They're your sisters. You're competing with them. You all want the same thing. And finally, win or lose, this is your chance to shine. Be gracious. Be gracious. If it's not in God's plan to crown you that evening, if you follow the other steps and it's meant for you to be, you'll get it. You'll get it. but along the way, have an open heart. Be gracious for everything that comes that way, because when they announce that winner, God put you there for a reason. The universe put you there for a reason. This is your chance to say thank you. That's your chance to say thank you, crown or not, because there's always tomorrow and you're a winner.
Words of a, this is my opinion, so I'm going to say it, a true legend in our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your words of wisdom and your words of kindness and your words of experience. There's so much that I can ask you, and I hope we get to continue to speak and to tell each other stories and to hear each other's stories and all of that. I want to know what is coming. Is there anything coming up for you in the near future? You mentioned that you're talking with Frank about bringing the show back, so hopefully that is coming up. But is there anything else on the horizon for you?
As soon as we're long, as if the pandemic couldn't be enough. Our governor Gretchen Whitmer here, there was a huge militia plot to kill her. So other than dealing with being threatened, her life and a plot to kill her, she's daily has to deal with our rising numbers here in Michigan. So as soon as our numbers go down, and I would estimate, and I'm no scientist, as you can tell from this interview, nor am I a doctor, but probably a year out before we're going to be able to actually come back. I hope not, but I'm talking about resuming regular bar activities where Queens,
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing it all over the United States. I don't know how they're doing it. They're doing it with social distancing. They are wearing shields and masks, but they're still, even in smaller groups, they're in, and ventilation. They're still, it's just a precarious time. There's so much that's unknown, and we want to push the envelope humanly to see what we can do to resume some kind of normality. In Michigan, we're just waiting for the governor to be able to say bars can be open again. And if they do, I'll go. My show is called Fox and Friends, and I'll start Fox and Friends back on at the Menjo's Entertainment Complex, where this is the casino industry is in upheaval, because who congregates more than the crowd at a casino? So they closed them down, and then they opened them, and then they got reinfected, and they closed them down. Now they opened them a little bit, and they got infected, and so as a public, we're experimenting to see where the parameters of this disease, this virus, is, and how much autonomy we can have within the virus. So if and when they say it's safe, because I'm not health compromised, but I'm old, and I don't want to go out and compromise my health in a bar situation.
Right.
So when they say it's safe, I'll be back at Menjo's on the stage, pumping out my tunes. And with the casino industry, as soon as Frank Marino is allowed to go back and resume his job at Legends in Concert, he'll have, at least the ability to reconstruct and mount a new touring show. And I hope to be a part of that in 2021. So with that, and I would like to say, this is my commercial, on that Miss America Dragathon with Pataya Hart, they said, well, Larry Edwards, Hot Chocolate, is the oldest Miss America that's still working. Not true. I'm still working and performing. I've never stopped. So please book me in your city. Please book me in your city. I would love. I know this is, I'm being cheap. I'm being cheap, and
No. Please book Miss Jennifer Foxx in your city. I want you in New York. I'm requesting you now.
I would love to come. I would love to come. I love to travel and meet new people and be with, and especially with the advent of this social network, You get to know people before you ever see their face, and you never get to hug their neck. And then you
Yes.
meet them, and they go, "It's such a pleasure to meet you." And I'm like, "Meet me? We know each other." And they're like, "I've never met you face to face." I'm like, "We never have. I've never hugged you. Hug me." So yeah,
Well, I can't wait to
I
hug
look
you.
forward. I look forward to hopefully traveling when this gets
Yeah. Well,
containable.
we have Miss Gay America 2019, 2020, 2020, whatever at this point. Pataya Hart right here. She's a good friend of mine. So the two of us will work together to get you in New York. And I have shows outside of New York. So
I would love
I
that.
would be honored to have you.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Include me. I would love that.
Yes. My goal is to get you in Paris, France up here. So,
Oh,
or over here for you, but up here for her.
it talk about a treat to sit and watch.
Yeah.
Paris is, oh my goodness. She's so effortless, so smooth, so commanding of the room. She's a textbook. That's somebody to watch.
Just
It's
a
so
beauty.
effortless. You can't copy her because she's so effortless. You know, there's nothing you can't go, well, she does that. So it's not anything like that. It's the enigma that is Paris, France. It's big. It's big.
It's so true. I'm sorry, I missed one person. I want you, I want Paris, France, and I want Tasha Cole. Those
Oh,
are
we don't want him. We don't want we don't want him. Everybody wants him. We don't want him. And he's trouble. He's trouble. He's nevel on time. He'll eat you out of house and home if he stays with you.
That's
If
okay.
he's
I'm a good cook.
if he stays in a hotel, he trashes the hotel room. He thinks he's a rock star. He thinks he's a rock star. He's got a big head.
I will happily cook for all three of you. More
okay.
than happy.
We're good eaters.
I cannot thank you enough for being here. I am so grateful to have you. I have been looking forward to this interview since before I even reached out to you. I knew I wanted to reach out to you because from the first time I met you, you have been such an inspiration to me. So thank you for being you, and thank you for being on stage and creating a pathway for a lot of us. There she is. I will cut you.
What do you say?
She said, I will cut.
I will cut you, Jen. Oh, okay, big boy, bring it. Cut me. Come on.
All right.
I love you, Jerry. I love you. I love you, honey.
Current working queen in the industry, Jennifer Foxx.
One of them, yeah.
One of, we'll say, yes, one of the current longest working queens in the industry. I'm so blessed to have this interview with you. Thank you.
In closing, yes. I would like to say, as I said on the Dragathon extravaganza that Miss Pataya Hart produced this last week, we're at a very crucial junction as gay people and as a society at large with our political climate. It's very politically correct now. I want to get this right. It's very politically correct now to say, vote. I don't care who you vote for, but vote. I'm not that guy. I care who you vote for. As gay people, our feet are to the fire. There are no do-overs here. There's no woulda, shoulda, coulda. There's no, I didn't understand what was going on. What's about to happen in the next 17 days is going to form the remainder of my generation's life and generations before me, decades of your life, millennials, the gen before that. It's going to form who you are as gay people. Your autonomy to move freely within the system, it's going to affect this art form greatly. It's going to affect gay marriage. It's going to affect so many things that are truly, truly important to your basic existence. I trust that you will vote Democratic to bring America back to the glory that it once was and allow us to repair the atrocities that we ourselves have created, because we can fix this. We can fix this. It won't be easy, but we have the tools to fix this. I believe many within the sound of my voice will vote Democratic. Those of you that have made up your mind in another way, I can't reach you. But the ones that I can reach that are voting Democratic already, enlist someone else. Double your vote. Help. Volunteer. Do whatever you have to do. When this battle is over, don't let it be said. Don't say to yourself, I should have done more. I should have taken the time. Because we don't lay down. We don't lay down. We're fighters. We're fighters. We're resilient and we're fighters. It brought us to where we are today. It allows me to speak to you with this fine lady next to me. We're fighters. Get in there. Don't be complacent. Let's win this thing. And then we can begin to start to move this forward and maintain what has been graciously given to us by an ever-evolving system. We need this. Vote. Thank you for allowing me that platform. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that. I'm proud to say, and actually I will say it now because it's a few days after, but my youngest brother just turned 18 and is proudly voting on the Democratic ballot and registered to vote on his 18th birthday. He is in Michigan, so another Michigan vote, and has even said himself that he is a straight white cis male, that he is contemplating moving out of country if the vote goes to the Republican side. So, I mean, he does not have a lot to lose as a straight white cis male. So that's very empowering to hear that somebody who just turned 18 is saying that. So my youngest brother, Matthew, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. And I'm proud of you for saying that. Thank you for saying
and also a great, I don't want to be remiss, and a great thank you to your partner for the frontline work. Thank you, sir. I mean, it takes one hell of a man or woman to get in there and risk their lives daily so people like me can be healthy. We could never thank you enough. So I had to say that.
Thank you. Again, I actually, one question popped into my head that is a little off topic from what we're talking about now, but I do have to ask you. Is pageantry forever off the table for Jennifer Foxx from now, or is there a possibility that she may return in the future?
Oh, goodness.
There are divisions of systems.
I watch pageantry. I try to stay attuned to pageantry as it evolves through the screen that we're using right now. AAG is to me a beauty system. They're really beautiful girls win that. Really beautiful girls. EOY is a beauty system, but it's truly based in talent. Very talented individuals win EOY. Continental is another animal altogether. Continental, these are enigmas. These are individuals that built personalities, branded themselves into bigger than life, beautiful personalities. I don't actually fit within any of those systems, and I always weigh my odds. So it would be foolish at this time I just got to say the way I feel, which is not probably the politically correct thing to say, but it's the way I feel, to tarnish my image as Miss Gay America, because former Miss Americas have entered other systems and they've lost. But they're much braver than me, because I hold Miss Gay America so near and dear to my heart that I never wanted to be anything else but Miss America. And if I die, which I will, only being Miss America, I'm happy with that. Plus, the casino industry has fortified that in me, because even though I know this is just bad, there's a Miss Continental and there's an All-American Goddess and there's Entertainer of the Year. They don't headline in Las Vegas and major casinos across the United States like I do. So that's been a feather. I know it's so bad. I'm just saying I had to find a niche, because I was never going to be beautiful as Candace Kane, and I was never going to be as talented as Electra, and I'm not Jennifer Warner. I mean, you have to know your strengths. And I knew that I could make people laugh. And if I could make people laugh, you have to learn to be a comedian. Being a comedian isn't, oh, I love her, she's funny, she makes us laugh at the bar. That's not a comedian. Comedy is an acting art form. You have to learn timing. You have to learn placement. I mean, it ain't easy to make 700 people sitting in front of you that are straight laugh for an hour and 15 minutes. It ain't easy. So once I accomplished that, I was like, that's my next crown. That's my casino crown. So I'm happy.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for entertaining one more question from me. I did not want to take away from the sincerity and the true need for what you had said about voting, because I do believe that is a necessity. We all need to we need to partake in our constitutional right, and we also need to vote on the side of freedom at this point. It really is voting on freedom at this point. So thank you for also saying that. Thank you for using your voice and your platform and your knowledge to bring that light into not just my generation, but your generation and everything in between and beyond both of our generations. I realize that day in and day out that there are generations that continue to come behind all of us. So
well, I'm a very grateful person. I walk in gratitude, because I've been afforded so much. I've been afforded so much in my life. I was raised in a time of sexual freedom, artistic freedom. The sky was the limit. My heart hurts for our gay children. My heart hurts for our gay children. I mean, they're already to a certain degree suppressed sexually. I mean, the game changed. Now politically, they want to take away our rights. I hurt for these children. What are their lives going to be? It's our responsibility to be able to secure freedom for them, to secure a bright future. Just because of their sexual orientation, they should not have to worry about how their life is going to form. Too many variables in life you have to work with. Finances, family, all these different things. We don't need the political climate to be against us. That's why it's so very important for us to vote. We need to take care of our family. We have a great many differences, but ultimately we are a gay family, and we need to protect our interests.
I couldn't agree more. That is a wonderful note to end this on. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. Thank you so much for being a part of my life and my entertainment career. On PayPal, Bruno RL1953@yahoo.com if you are interested. And on Facebook, that is Facebook and Facebook Pay. Jennifer Foxx, that is 2 N's and 2 X's. Jennifer, Jennifer, and Fox, Foxx. Thank you again. I really appreciate you, and I will talk to you in just a minute. I'm just going to close out the show, and then I will see you backstage.
The last thing I want to say is thank you for not making me cry.
Well, you made me cry a couple times, so thank you. I'll see you in just a second.
Thank you
All
for
right,
having
Divas,
me. Thank you,
I
folks.
am so excited to live this and be here and have such wonderful entertainers on our show. I am just beyond myself. So I want to give a couple thank yous during the show. One is, of course, my jeweler, Fierce Drag Jewels. I always love to wear Nova's stuff. And our official sponsor for season 2, Big Girl Nails by Coco. As you can see, she has definitely blinged me out and gave me some lovely green to go with my pumpkin look today. Big Girl Nails by Coco on Instagram. That is BIGGIRLNAILS by BYCOCO. Big Girl Nails by Coco. Message her, tell her Aaliyah Martinez sent you, and we'll just see. I want to see some of you in your Big Girl Nails by Coco. Also, we had a bartender today, and I cannot thank him enough for being a part of the show. Ken, thank you for being a rock star bartender. If you would like to go back and review the beginning of the show to see what Ken made for us, it was a lovely pumpkin spice cocktail, and I want to see who has made that. So go ahead and send you making your cocktail into production at AaliyahMartinezQueen.com. That is production at AaliyahMartinezQueen.com, and maybe you'll be featured on the show. Who knows? We are going to do a monthly or quarterly drawing depending on how many entries we get, and we will have bigger prizes than last season because, of course, we were doing it weekly. I'm very, very, very excited for next week. We are going to talk politics. We are going to talk voting. We are going to talk New York democracy. And that is because of the one and only drag queen with a dream who heads up dragoutthevote.org 2020, dragoutthevote2020.org. Marty G. Cummings is going to be on the show next week. I cannot wait to talk with them. They are a political figure who started their career out in drag and has just been a megaphone for our community. I am so blessed to have them on the show next week. We have 2 more Viva October looks coming for you, so we will see you next week. I want to see what's in your glass. I want to see more bartenders, and I want to see you commenting in. I love you all, and Viva Aaliyah.
Viva Aaliyah.